Alright, today we are doing day 2 of the elimination method, section 3.2. Our objective is to continue using the elimination method to solve systems of equations. For our notes, it may be necessary to multiply one or both of the equations in a system by an integer in order to have opposite coefficients. You can multiply each equation by a different number. Remember that you must multiply everything in the equation by that number to keep it equivalent. Example number 1. We have this system of equations, but we do not have opposite coefficients on either of our variables. So we have to multiply one or both of the equations by some number or numbers in order to force that to happen. Now, I would usually recommend multiplying the equation with smaller coefficients, right? Because if we multiply the top equation with bigger coefficients by something, that's not going to work out so well. So we're going to multiply the bottom equation by a number. What number would you like to use? I would not recommend -1 because changing the signs on these is not going to eliminate a coefficient. We are going to multiply the bottom equation. I think we are finally ready to multiply our bottom equation by -2. When we multiply that equation by -2, what do we get? Good. Very good. We have to multiply every single term in the whole equation by the -2. Now this is not a requirement, but I personally like to rewrite my top equation down below. So I'm going to rewrite this top equation below. 4x plus 9y equals 1. Now, do we have opposite coefficients on a variable? Yes. We sure do. So which variable is eliminated? X. That goes to 0. So we combine down our columns. -6y plus 9y is a positive 3y equals 2 plus 1 is 3. But we don't just want 3y, we want y by itself. Divide both sides by 3, so we get y equals 1. Y equals 1. But are we finished with this problem? No. What are we going to do next? Plug y back into which equation? Whichever one you want. The top one is fine with me. So we're going to take this 1 and plug it into y in the top equation. Plug y in. 4x plus 9 times 1 equals 1. What's 9 times 1? 9. So 4x plus 9 equals 1. What do we do? Subtract 9 from both sides. 4x equals -8. And then when we divide by 4, x equals -2. We write our answer as an ordered pair. In this case, that would be -2, 1. And that is our answer to this system. If I was not sure whether or not I was correct, what would I do? Check it by plugging them in. Okay, when we start number 2, it is not quite as easy as the first one. We are going to have to multiply both of these equations by some number. But before we do that, we have to decide which variable we want to eliminate. Would anyone like to raise their hand and tell me which variable they want to get rid of? Ian. Ian wants to get rid of x. So we will go with x for this problem. It does not matter which one you choose. You just got to pick one. So if we want to eliminate x, we need these coefficients to be opposites of each other. Jacob, what should I multiply the top equation by?
5.
5. Okay, if I multiply the top equation by 5, can someone else tell me what I should multiply the bottom equation by? Emily.
3.
Close.
Oh, no?
If I multiply the bottom by a 3, are these going to turn into opposites?
Oh,
No. So one of them has to be negative. I don't care which one. We could have used a -5 and a +3. Either way, we want one of them to be positive, one of them to be negative. All right, then I need to rewrite my equation, so I'm going to do that to the side over here. If I multiply the whole top equation by 5, who can raise their hand and tell me what we would get? Sadia. 15x plus 35y equals 75. Sounds wonderful. Can someone else raise their hand and tell me what the bottom equation would come out to be? Caden.
-15x minus 6y equals 12.
Wonderful. Okay, so now we have a system of equations that's been changed so that the x's will eliminate. So our x's are going to go to 0, they're gone. And then we have to combine down our columns. 35y minus 6y
That's 29.
is 29y. 75 plus 12 is 87. What do we do to get y alone?
Divide by 29.
Divide by 29. What do we get for y?
Y equals 3.
Y equals 3. But we're not done. We need to take that 3 and plug it back into y into an equation. Now you can use either of the originals or you can use either of your transformed ones. It does not matter. Which would you like to use?
Top one.
For the top. First one I heard is the top, so that's what we're going with. If you want to use a different one, you should still get the same answer as the rest of us. So we're going to plug it into y in the top equation. That gives me 3x plus 7 times 3 equals 15. Okay. 3x plus, what's 7 times 3? 21 equals 15. To get x alone?
Divide by, minus 21.
Minus 21, so 3x equals -6. And then, and x equals, we sound so excited about it. All right, then we have to write our final answer as an ordered pair. -2, 3. All right. All right, on example 3, I would recommend multiplying the top equation by something because those coefficients are in general smaller. So we have to first pick which variable do we want to eliminate. X, Y, doesn't matter to me. Oh, well that's the interesting thing about this one. So let's say we want to eliminate the X. What am I going to multiply the top equation by?
2.
A +2. When I do that, I get -6x plus 10y equals 14. So now I can kind of ignore that top equation. We're done with it. We're focusing on these two equations here, and what do we notice that happens? Everything cancels, so I end up with what equals what?
0.
0 equals 0. That means that we have infinitely many solutions. So if we end up with all our variables canceling out, if your variables both cancel out and you end up with a true statement in the end, something like 0 equals 0, you will have infinitely many solutions. Moving on to number 4. Which variable do we want to eliminate? Jacob.
X.
Okay. We want to eliminate x, so we need the coefficients to be opposites of each other. In order to do that, we are going to multiply both equations by some numbers. They are not going to be the same number. Charles, what would you like to multiply the top equation by? -3 works for me. If we multiply the top equation by -3, what should we multiply the bottom equation by?
Positive.
A +2. Remember, we want to end up with opposites, so they need to have different signs. If I multiply the whole top equation by -3, what does that give me? Sadia.
6x minus 12y equals
Negative.
-18. Very good. 6x minus 12y equals -18. Somebody new, tell me what I would get in my bottom equation. Someone I haven't heard from yet, Q.
-6x plus 12y equals 16.
Wonderful. What do we notice when we go to combine our equations?
0 equals -2.
Very good. When we combine, the x's eliminate, but then so do the y's. They also eliminate. So we are left with 0 equals -18 plus 16 is -2.
No solution.
Therefore, we have a false statement, which means there's no solution. Okay, let's move on to number 5. We'll go ahead and do number 5 together from the get-go. Can someone raise their hand and tell me which variable they would like to eliminate? Perhaps someone I haven't heard from yet. Unless I'm just going to start picking on people. Alexis.
What I was going to do is I was going to multiply the top by -3 to get rid of the n,
Here.
and then the bottom by 2.
So the top by what?
-3.
-3, and the bottom by what?
2.
2, and that's going to get rid of which variable?
N.
M?
First one. N.
The first one, okay, yes. I know it's hard when the variables sound the same, M and N. Okay, so we are going to eliminate M, first variable. This is not the only option we have. We could have gotten rid of the other variable. We could have multiplied by something different, but I like this option a lot. Again, one of these had to be negative and one had to be positive. Doesn't matter which one's negative or which one's positive. If we multiply the entire top equation by -3, Quincy, what do we get?
-6m
Mm-hmm.
minus 12m equals what?
Wonderful. -6m minus 12n equals 12. All right. Any takers to tell me what I get in the bottom? Maybe some new voices. Devin, I haven't heard your voice yet. What would I get if I multiplied the whole bottom equation by 2?
6m plus 10
Wonderful. 6m plus 10n equals -6. Now we are ready to combine those. What happens with the m's?
They cancel out.
They cancel out. -12n plus 10n
-2n.
is -2n. That equals 6. 12 minus 6 is 6. How do I get n alone? Divide by -2, n equals -3. Where do we want to plug it in?
Two.
Top equation?
Yep.
All right. We're going to take it all the way up into the top equation. Remember, you have options. You can use either of the originals or one of the transformed ones. So if we plug it in, we have 2m times, plus 4 times negative 3 equals negative 4. 4 times negative 3
Negative 12.
is negative 12.
Add 12.
So to get rid of it, we add 12. We get 2m equals 8. And then to get m all alone,
Divide by 2.
divide by 2, m equals
How do you know those are
4. So on this one, instead of x comma y, we would have m comma n. So yes, I would stick with alphabetical order if they're not x and y. So I would write it as 4, negative 3. Good question. Does anyone need more time on number 5? Alrighty then. What's different about number 6?
No, it's back. Whoa. They're different.
Something's different about it.
The X's, the answer.
They're not lined up.
Good, they're not lined up, so things are not arranged the way we want them to be arranged. So we need to fix that. The top one is actually pretty easy to fix, right? Instead of having the equal sign over here, we're just going to move it to the other side. So this is going to become 3x minus 6y equals negative 6. You can have your equal sign on either side. So we're just going to take this and move it to the other side. In order to rearrange the one on the bottom, what's the easiest thing to do? Subtract 5y from both sides. So it becomes 4x minus 5y equals 4. So we subtracted 5y from both sides. Okay, now that it's all rearranged, are we all okay with this? Okay, so we can just kind of like ignore all of this up here. We're just done with it. Now we're working with this system here. We need to figure out which variable we would like to eliminate.
Eggs.
Keaton, which variable do you want to eliminate? You want to do the x still?
Yeah.
Okay. I feel like we've been on a roll eliminating with the x's, which is fine. If we are going to eliminate the x's, Chris, what should I multiply the top equation by? Negative 4 is a good option. Not the only option, but it's a good one. I like it. If we multiply the top equation by negative 4, Kaylin, what should I multiply the bottom equation by? A positive 3. That's going to make the top a negative 12, the bottom a positive 12, and those will end up canceling out. Okay, I'm going to take these and rewrite them up here. So if I multiply through by a negative 4, Sadia, what do I get?
Try to do the whole thing.
Yup.
Okay, negative 12x might be plus 24y equals negative 24.
Positive 24, right?
Probably, sorry.
Okay, it's alright. Okay, so we multiply through the whole thing by negative 4. That's what we got. The other one we're going to multiply through by a positive 3. Any takers to tell me what we get on that one? Caden?
12x minus 15y equals 12.
Wonderful. 12x minus 15y equals 12. What happens with our x's?
Cancel.
They eliminate, they cancel out, they go to 0. 24y minus 15y.
9y.
is 9y. 24 plus 12
Oh, wait.
36.
Oh.
is 36. Watch your signs to get y by itself.
Divide by 9.
Y equals.
4.
Wonderful. Now, when we go to figure out what x is, we have lots of options here. Because we could plug this y value into any of the equations we want. So you can use one of these two equations, you could plug it into one of your transformed equations, you could plug it into one of your multiplied equations. You have 6 options. Which one do you want to use?
Third one.
The third, like this one right here? Okay. Doesn't matter to me. You can pick any one you want. So if that's the one you want to use, we're going to take this 4 and we are going to plug it into y in that equation. So we have 3x minus 6 times 4 equals negative 6. Alright, 6 times 4.
24.
So we have 3x minus 24 equals negative 6. To get x by itself, what should I do?
Add 24.
Add 24. That gives me 3x equals 18. And then
Divide by 3.
divide by 3 to get that x equals 6. And we write our final answer as an ordered pair, 6, 4. Wonderful.
This is me.
Okay, which variable are we eliminating?
A. Oh, it could be. Fine, let's eliminate.
No.
So, I like the idea of eliminating b in this case because they're already opposite signs,
Algebra.
right? Like, they're already opposite signs, so we might as well go for b. So, I'm overruling you on this one. If I want to eliminate b, what should I multiply the top equation by?
4.
And the bottom one?
3.
All right. I multiply the top one by 4. I get 8a minus 12b equals negative 4. I multiply the bottom one by a 3.
9A
9a
plus 12
plus 12b
equals 20.
equals 24. So on this one, my b's are the ones that eliminate, cancel out, go to 0. 8a combined with a 9a
17.
is 17a equals 20. All right, we're going to divide both sides by 17.
1.1.
A equals 20 over 17. Just leave it alone. Because if you get a decimal, my guess is that you're going to have to round it. And I don't want any of that negativity in my life. Okay? Don't round them. So we just leave it alone. Now we get to pick which equation are we plugging it into.
The bottom.
Okay, we can plug it into the bottom.
Why would you?
All right, we are going to plug this into A in the bottom equation. That's what we decided to go with. We have 3 times 20 over 17 plus 4b equals 8. 3 times 20 over 17.
No, it's 3 and
3
9
9/17.
Crazy.
So I would recommend leaving these as improper fractions for right now. So just 60 over 17. Plus 4b equals 8. Now I will concede that this is not pretty, but it's still workable, especially if we have a calculator. That's going to make our life a lot easier. So what do I have to do now? Subtract 60 over 17 from both sides. Now if you have a calculator, this is not so bad. Alright, So 4b equals 76 over 17. But then we need to divide by 4. Dividing by 4 is the same as multiplying by 1/4.
Wait, I can still put it in
76 and
spot.
4 cancel out.
What do they reduce to?
19 over 17.
So this is 19, and that's a 1. All right. So B ends up equaling 19/17. So our final answer is 20/17, comma 19/17. That one, I will admit, it's ugly, but it's not impossible. Graphing, yes, that would be really, really, really hard. All right, on example 8, we need to rearrange it just a little bit because we need to get x and y on the same side in the top. So what am I going to do?
Add 4y.
Add the 4y to both sides. I can't hardly see that. Add 4y to both sides. That gives me 2x plus 4y equals -4. Don't drop the sign on that 4. Then we ignore all of that. We got to decide which variable do we want to get rid of. Okay, if we're going to get rid of x, what should I multiply the top by?
-2,
And the bottom?
3.
When we multiply through the top by -2, we get -6x minus 10y equals +6. When we multiply through the bottom equation by a 3, we get 6x plus 12y equals -12. X's eliminate. -10y plus 12y
2y.
is 2y. 6 minus 12. How do I get y by itself?
Divide by 2.
Divide by 2. Y equals -3. Then we have to plug it in. Where do you want to plug it into?
To the top. To 3x plus 5 more equals -3.
Okay, we plug it in to there. So that means I've got 3x plus 5 times -3 equals -3. 5 times -3 is -15. How do I get x alone?
You
Add 15. That gives me 3x equals 12. Divide by 3, what does x equal? X equals 4. So my ordered pair?
4 and 3.
4, comma, -3.
Okay, are we gonna highlight those ones?